working fee or servicing fee. Now, CFO, let's take an accommodation that provides for 300 students. Now, the only time these companies do work is when they go and accredit. So they perform the service once. So Sihle goes there, is an ANC comrade linked to some Nsfas people. He goes and he accredits. No, just on a lighter note, Chair. He goes and accredits, let's say, about 300 students. We're paying per head about 4,500. So we're looking at 3.1 million rands that we're paying for these 300 students in this accommodation. And then this guy... No, thank you very much, Chair. I'm going to try to run through this because I've got quite a few questions. Greetings, CEO, Chair. I know both of you are fairly new, but I do want to wish that you have at least brought in a team that would have been in the entity for some time. So if you don't have answers to some of these questions, Chair or CEO, feel free to give them to the other members of Nsfas who would have been there long before. I want to start with the question of defunding very quickly. CEO, imagine a scenario, someone comes from a rural province, say Limpopo, Eastern Cape. They are accepted by the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. They go and study in Cape Town because they've received the offer. In fact, they even start receiving allowances. They get payments. They are paid in February, they are paid in March, April, June. They are doing their courses. They are passing, they are writing tests, they are writing exams. And then, boom, in June, they are defunded. Do you agree, CEO, that even if there were strong, compelling reasons, would you agree with me that that is certainly not the time to defund a student, especially when they would have moved and started? Let's say you've got correct reasons. This person was not supposed to be funded to begin with. Now, why do you make them travel, CFO, all the way? Because you have given them that certainty. You have given them that promise. They've entered a social contract with Nsfas that I'm traveling all the way to Cape Town to study at UCT because I've received funding from this government. I've written my first test, I've passed, I've written an exam, I've submitted my assignments. I'm on the course of finishing my qualification as a student. And then, because Nsfas says, we made an error, it was supposed to be TVET funding, no, it's university, no, there was a system glitch. In June, I'm defunded. Just quickly your views on that, CEO. Again, I know you are new, so you can give it to the other members as well.
Yeah, thanks. Through you, Chair. Perhaps let the COO respond to the reasons for defunding, and then I'll give my view here.
Press this side.
Oh, yes, thank you very much, Chair. So I think with regards to the reasons for defunding, this had a lot to do with the sort of data that we had. And it speaks to the systems that we have in terms of saying that, are we able to determine financial, do we have enough data that's able to determine financial eligibility?
So, sorry to interject, Chair. I get the reasons. I did say the reasons may be correct. But look at the social impact. You have given someone funding, they've traveled all the way to Cape Town, then you defund them. Like, is it correct to defund someone in the middle of the academic year? Is that not something that was supposed to be well dealt with by Nsfas in the previous year, so that you don't give that person an offer to begin with if you're of the view that they are not supposed to get an offer?
Yeah. So I think that is why, excuse me, that is why, Chairperson, it's important to make sure that we start the preparations for the following year very early.
So you accept that it's wrong to defund someone in the middle of the year? Thank you, COO. Let me go to the next question with respect. Just quickly, CEO, you don't have to be long on this one. How far are we with the loan applications? Because I know there were some delays in terms of the missing middle people. You can just give a rough one-word answer in terms of percentage. We've covered X% or so, yeah.
Thanks, Honorable Lonzi. I think through you, Chair, all loan applications have been assessed and final decisions have been communicated. That's the view I have. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, CEO. With student accommodation, I think a lot of the members really have spent a lot of time talking about the collapsing state of student accommodation. In fact, part of the reason we lost the life of a student in Walter Sisulu University, amongst many other reasons, was because the students were fighting for the horrible, inhumane state of student accommodation. And you have got companies that are accrediting these places. So again, maybe CFO, let me start with, I'll just need a quick response from you here. Because who accredits, what are the names of these companies that accredit student accommodation?
Chair, through you, there are 39 companies who are accreditation partners. I can give you, you want all of the names?
Yeah, I think you can share that with me.
Okay.
And then the follow-up question to that is that every month these companies are given 5% of the money that Nsfas pays. And we're told that this 5% is some type of a working fee or servicing fee. Now, CFO, let's take an accommodation that provides for 300 students. Now, the only time these companies do work is when they go and accredit. So they perform the service once. So Sihle goes there, is an ANC comrade linked to some Nsfas people. He goes and he accredits. No, just on a lighter note, Chair. He goes and accredits, let's say, about 300 students. We're paying per head about 4,500. So we're looking at 3.1 million rands that we're paying for these 300 students in this accommodation. And then this guy accredits this thing once, but we pay him 5% every month. So he's getting about 67,500 rand every month for a service that is only performed once. Because it's not like these people, they go back to check every month. Is this accommodation still at a state that it was supposed to be? And do you know how I know that they don't check? Because Nsfas says to us, we were tricked. The university provided pictures that says that this accommodation is in the correct state. But when we went to go check, we discovered that actually this is a shack. So that's a clear admission from Nsfas that there is no constant check-up by these students, by these 37 private accommodation providers. Now, I want to find out, COO or CEO, anyone in Nsfas, how much have we spent on these private service providers who are given a responsibility to go and accredit student accommodation in South Africa?
Thanks, Honorable Lonzi. Through you, Chair. So I think I'm going to take a moment to explain what I understand to be the student accommodation process. And I think here it is very important to clarify, Chair, that this is a system that the board and myself inherited at Nsfas. But what you have, even before we bring the intermediaries into it, is you have students, you have private accommodation providers, and you have institutions, right? Now, there are two types of intermediaries which exist. One is the accreditation partners. An accreditation partner's role is to go out and verify accommodation, give it a classification, and give it a grade. The 39 accreditation partners receive, and I'll give you the amounts here. If they accredit between 1 to 20 beds, they receive 160 Rand. If they accredit 21 to 50 beds, it's 120 Rand. 51 to 100 beds, it's 100 Rand. And more than 100 beds, it's 80 Rand. That money is not paid by Nsfas, it's paid by the solution partner to the accreditation partner. The solution partners are 4 intermediaries who handle different regions in South Africa, who have the responsibility for designing online portals on which private accommodation providers can list accommodation. So private accommodation providers log on to the portal, they list their private accommodation, it's referred to an accreditation partner who will go and accredit, give it a relative grade, And then when a student gets to campus, they can log on to that portal, choose their accommodation. The portal is also used to upload the lease agreement and elements such as that there. The solution partners receive 5%. They receive 5%, which is deducted from the landlord's payment. So the allowance table that you see from Nsfas, if somebody is paid 52,000, which is a metro rate for private accommodation, they will receive 52,000 less 5%, which the solution partner retains as services for the utilization of their portal.
So sorry to with respect, CEO, because I've got limited time.
Yes, yes, yes.
But I do want to understand, what are these solution partners receiving the 5% for?
Yeah, I've paused your time because
Okay. All right.
yeah, I'm allowing him to explain the differences, and then I'll allow you to do the follow-up.
So let me say that the solution partners receive that fee for the utilization of their online portal. They also have to use that fee, I assume, to pay the accreditation partners for facilitating the monthly invoicing and payment and all of those kind of things. Let me also say, Honorable Lonzi, through you, Chair, is that we have, the board and management find these contracts to be deeply problematic. The nature of the system indicates to us that there are problems. But there is contractual law in South Africa here. While we may not have signed those contracts, we are bound by them, which is why we would have instituted a legal review into the solution partners as well as their accreditation partners. In addition to that, the SIU has also flagged this complex accommodation process for review and is at the initial stages of the investigation of the process, and I'm sure they will make recommendations. While we are here, we are stuck with this process here. There is no alternative. And my concern is that the system can't be shut down overnight. That is why you'll see we worded the presentation to say we are developing a transitional framework for student accommodation. Because what we don't want to create, we agree the current system does not work. What we don't want to create is a mass-based eviction of students overnight that has the potential to create instability across the country. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, maybe he may have used accommodation accreditation people. May have entertained or used this with the solution providers. But the question that he has asked, which we have not answered, is that you have a contract. You are saying you are a solution provider. Your job is to facilitate the payment of accommodation providers that have been accredited. So those ones, the 30-something ones that you're talking about, they've done the job once, they're done. They don't get paid again. Done. Even the accreditation, sometimes even them, they had no ethics, by the way. Some of them were going to Nsfas properties and saying, according to norms and standard, you are supposed to be graded grade D, but I can give you grade A, give me something. That is done. That is one part on one side. What he's asking about is this 5% of this solution partners. Their job, Honorable Lonzi, is to facilitate invoices from accommodation providers, submit those invoices to Nsfas. Nsfas pays the solution partners money, then they pay the accommodation provider. So the 5% is there. They are, what do you call it? They're just distributing funds, and then they're getting 5%. And we've asked this question before, and your answer is that no, they get 1%, 1%. In fact, when we were at oversight in Tshwane South, in Centurion, Honorable Ngubane, they were there. They explained the other PSHA. They said, we have asked, and then this is what Nsfas says to us. 1%, there are 4 solution partners. 1% goes to solution A, solution B, solution C, and then 1% goes to Nsfas. So this is where the 5% comes from. But why would the three providers, and this is what I asked in that meeting, just that you Nsfas, you are getting, what do you call it, inducted. It was on your induction day when we were there. And we said, it does not make, it smells bad. Because, like I've said before, all these members, they come from constituencies where these people live. Now I go to church. I'm a church person. I go to church with people who provide these services. So they will tell you, one solution provider is given a province. I'm making an example. Free State. I forgot their name. Somebody gave it to me. Knew something. Knew something in it. Free State, it's these people. It's only one solution provider given to Free State. So if you take 5% from Sihle Lonzi properties, where are you taking the... Yeah, yeah, no, I know one less, but I'm just making an example. So 1% will go to this, I think it's TNG. TNG what? Where is this 3% going? Because it's only one provider, solution provider doing service there. So you are charging 5% and you can't account for 3%. We asked you there in that meeting, and we said to your team that was the COO, if you remember, we said, go and investigate this. Go and sit down with it, take it to senior management and tell us. When we say it's 5%, and when we tell you, when we ask these questions, we know them. We're giving you the facts, detailed facts intentionally to tell you when he's going to come with a follow-up. Assume that he knows and then answer correct. If you don't know, CEO, you must say, I agree what you are saying, that we're just, we have a contractual agreement that we're trying to get ourselves out. But as we speak, there's this four solution, you call them solution providers, that are doing this job. Some of them are doing terrible. In fact, some of the accommodation that have not been paid, CEO, it's not because you are not refusing to pay. It's because there's a delay in them giving you the invoices for you to pay. Others, you have paid them, but they've not paid accommodation provider. So your team must tell you those things. They must tell you, CEO, we've got 4 solution providers, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2 are not performing. Where they are, we've given them 200 million that they were supposed to disperse to accommodation provider. They've not done so because they want to get interest from that money without paying these providers. So if you don't know this detail, CEO, just say it. Your team must brief you because, like I said, you go to church, others they meet me and Ombiza, people of churches. Others here they go to parties, Sihle Lonzi. They meet them there in parties, so we know the detail. So just Honorable Lonzi, continue there. But that was the context that he was coming from. The solution partners getting 5% for work not done. If you can just answer him on that one so that I can start the process.
Maybe before you come in quickly, CEO, because I need a quick answer to this one. Does Nsfas need a middleman for this project? Because you have got accommodation providers, they are here. You've quantified them, you've done it very well here so you know who these people are. Do you need to pay someone money to pay another person money? Like, what is that? And I don't buy, because I heard it before as well when we were at that oversight, where they say, no, this money is not coming from Nsfas. This money is coming from the landlord. It's not true. Because if Nsfas is paying 4,500, that 5% that the landlord pays to these dodgy 4 companies that we don't know, maybe you must also give us their names, CEO. It's coming from that 4,500. So it's government money, it's our money. Because where are these landlords getting this money from? And this is the same problem we had with Izaga, Tenet Technologies, those four things of the middleman allowances, which almost collapsed Nsfas last year. I understand this was before your time. Why? Because comrades want to eat. So they create unnecessary middlemen. So comrades. So they create an unnecessary middleman, because when you answer, I'm also going to ask you, because in your presentation, you rightfully say, look, we've failed to do this thing at university level. So we're now giving money to the universities to run this process, some of them at least. But for the TVETs, I think the middlemen are still there. And that is where the problem comes. Because you think that you're outsourcing the problem. But because these solution providers are faceless, we don't know them. When we don't get allowances as students, we're going to fight with you, Nsfas. Even though you are saying, no, you have given the money to this. So, do you agree with me? We don't need these people. In fact, that 5%, when I count it, I mean, if you go to 2024, and you say you've paid about 81,000, and you spent about 2.9 billion rands on student accommodation. Now, when you consider 5% of 2.9 billion, it's about 145 million rands. To do what? Like, we are just making people rich at the expense of students. We're giving these people 145 million rands just to take an invoice and give it to Nsfas and accredit once, and then they disappear. They don't do anything after that. CEO, chair of Nsfas, all of us can agree this is wrong. This is a crime. Like, this is something that must be top of the priority of Nsfas. That 145 million rands that we spent in the 5% in 2024 could have been used to fund more students who are not receiving funding from Nsfas. Your comments on that, CEO?
Yeah, thanks, Honorable Lonzi. I think that if I had the opportunity, I would not have designed the system as such. It is an overtly complex system that is clearly not working. We would not be sitting with the complaints that we have if the system was working. What we are stuck with is contracts that have been signed, and we are happy to share copies of the contracts with honorable members if needs be. But we are stuck with contracts, and that is why we would have embarked on a process to say we want a full legal review of this process, not only of the contracts themselves, but going back to the Nsfas legislation about whether actually Nsfas should be involved in student accommodation, 1. 2, whether the appropriate feasibility study was done around the design. 3, about whether there was risk assessment that was undertaken. 4, about the signing of the contracts with the accreditation partners and solution partners. 5, about the payment gateways that are being used. 6, about performance standards, about whether they are being used appropriately. Now, we have, and I have indicated to the attorneys who are handling this matter that this legal review needs to be done as soon as possible. And we will share those findings with you here. So that, and part of that assessment includes commercial viability, right? Because whatever that legal review says, we must implement it. Whatever the SIU says, we must implement it. But also, I have a role as an accounting officer to be free from bias here. Is to say, this process is handed over from legal review. That must come back and we must implement the recommendations. And we intend to implement the recommendations emanating from that there. But I want to conclude by saying, it is clear to me that the current system is not working here. And it's not fair on anybody who is evolving and who operates in this ecosystem of student accommodation.
No, thank you, CEO. I'm closing, Chair. I don't know how much time I've got left. I saw on your presentation, you had put the date of 30th of April for the SIU to have this, to sit on the special tribunal when it comes to moving the offices in Cape Town. I don't understand why we're paying so much, millions of money to have offices in Cape Town. I've been to those offices. You've got a nice view there, Table Mountain and waterfront and everything. And I don't know why you must have that nice view. We've got government buildings in Johannesburg. We've got government buildings in Pretoria that can be utilized by Nsfas. The chair will celebrate the Expropriation Act of Cyril. Utilize it, Chairperson. Expropriate unused government buildings or even private buildings without compensation, of course, and put Nsfas there, as opposed to Nsfas spending, I don't know, 2-point-something million every month or 12 million. So has that taken place? Because your presentation says 30 April and we're sitting in May, and it doesn't seem to communicate to us whether or not there's been an outcome about that particular process. I think after you respond, Chair, I'll be fine. The last point I'll ask, because I don't want to come back. When he responds, then he can finish, Chair, is that the argument you make for giving students money to stay in unaccredited student accommodation is that we've got a capacity problem of student accommodation. And I completely agree with that. Just because we don't have beds, I don't think we must not allow students to live. But we understand that these students, when they get this money, they get to be preyed on by vulture private accommodation providers, and they put them in the back rooms, they put them in the shacks, and they take the money from Nsfas. Have you not considered perhaps you must approach just that with you, comrades? When you talk like this, you then think of ways to make money out of it. But have you not considered approaching ethical business people in the sector, or even not business people, to enter some form of memorandum of understanding with them? To say that, look, we've got a capacity problem of student accommodation in South Africa. But obviously, someone is not going to want to go build a student accommodation in some village somewhere if they don't have some form of a guarantee from Nsfas that, look, if you build here, at least for the next 5 years or so, we guarantee that we're going to put our students here. That could work in a very ethical environment. But the problem is that you're just going to start selling these MOUs and then nothing is going to. But have you looked into that to say, to increase the capacity, let's approach some of these big corporations or whatever, or even individuals to say, go and build in Lusikisiki, go and build in the deep rurals, and we say, we guarantee you can even take this to the bank and say that I've got this thing from Nsfas that says, if you finance my building in a village that doesn't have student accommodation, I'm guaranteed that for 5 years, for 10 years or whatever, I'll be able to work with Nsfas, but of course within an ethical environment. Thank you, CEO. Thank you, Chair. And thank you, COO.
Yeah, maybe before you respond, we're paying 30 million there per year, that in those offices. The minister last year in our meeting, I think around September, said they've taken the lease agreement for a review. In court, we understood that we can't just jump off. And I think the CEO on the presentation responded to this thing of decentralization, which was also communicated by the minister that will decentralize, go to the plan. The ultimate plan is that let's be at all institutions, at all campuses. Let's have Nsfas presence there. But to do that, you'll need to get the workers at Nsfas, because they've got families who are staying in Cape Town. They must make plans to move out, go to Pretoria with their spouses, their children. So they are now in that space of engaging with the staff, with the unions there to say, look, this is the strategic decision taken by the leadership of the department. The ultimate plan is to get there, but obviously, because it also has financial implications, we must do it financial year by financial year. And I've always said, I'm happy you raised it. You actually pitched it at 2.9 billion. We don't pay anything less than 10 billion for student accommodation across. So if you pay 10 billion, 5% is 500 million. It's money that we could be utilizing to improve the IT systems of Nsfas. We're crying about we don't have operational budget to have this, but we're just throwing away money to middlemen. Literally, this is what happens. We have middlemen who are not transferring skill to the staff of Nsfas, so that after when their 3 years ends, we're able to then do it in-house, maybe hybrid with universities or whatever the case may be. So I agree with your point. But So there's I thought that one I must just answer because you put it on the presentation. There's a suggestion that Honorable Lonzi says on MOUs with ethical leadership. Honorable Lonzi, when we supported Nsfas in 2023, I was part of that committee. We said to them in 2022 or 2023, we agree Nsfas must play a role because a year before, I think the report that we got, they were unaudited because they had not submitted to Nsfas. But they had said they paid about 17 billion to accommodation. But they did not know who are these people. They could not verify if students are staying in verified proper accommodation. So we said to them, we can't be Bomoreki paying 17 billion to people we don't know. Nsfas must play a role. And I said to them, Nsfas, these people at these universities, many of them, and vice chancellors misunderstood me to say that I said vice chancellors are corrupt. But I clarified that not you, but many of the people in your system, especially who are dealing with accommodation, are very corrupt. One, before they accredit you, and some of them they were looking for between 300,000 and 1 million as an upfront payment for their own, so that you are accredited for your 1,000 beds. They were not looking. That's why some institutions don't accredit you if you have 50 beds, and they want you to start from 100. They made it a policy, 100 beds upwards. So all these small businesses who have 80, 60, they were not accredited. So they had to go. If I have 50 or 55, we form a JV. We then say we're one company for them to accredit. So they were just creating, an unethical line of things. So I said to Nsfas, I agree, go play a role. But don't bring the same things because we will know about it. We stay with these people. These people, when they were accrediting, before they accredit, I wrote to them many times, the previous leadership, that these are the 10 emails I've received from accommodation providers. I told you we go to churches with them. We know them. We socialize with them. So they will write to us and say, Sihle